This is the Team Objection podcast for December 12th, 2019, episode 417. And in this episode, we brought back somebody from last week because she was available and had information about the topic that we're going to be tackling. But the person who would have liked to have talked about this the most is no longer here because Gary's gone and we're doing a movie review.
Yeah, you know what? We lied. We said neither of them were going to be back, and Michaela's back the very next week. I feel like our integrity is in question.
That's fine. Who needs integrity anyways?
It's fine. And
You
I
don't
fixed
need
Shaun's mic, so he's good to go.
Oh, was that quiet?
It was probably picking
off?
up on my mic because the good news is you're still facing it. So it's fine. It was one
I
line.
like it.
It's fine. We'll fix it in post.
I brought popcorn for the movie review.
Hey!
I haven't had dinner
How
yet,
fitting.
so you're making me mad.
Oh, man.
It's been that kind of night. But we're here, and we're reviewing Frozen 2 because it's sweeping the nation, it's doing gangbusters at the box office. I think we reviewed the first Frozen for this, did we not? I thought we did.
I don't know if I did.
I don't remember what we did last week. There's no way I can remember
Yeah.
anything that far back.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many episodes. God only knows what we've done anymore. I don't even remember what happened last year, so...
Yeah.
In any case, we're here. We're going to review the sequel, as always. I always feel like it's silly to have to keep going over this disclaimer in advance, but what the hell? We're going to spoil everything. We're going to talk about the plot. We're going to talk about the ending. We're going to talk about its relation to the first movie and all that jazz. So if you haven't seen it yet, pause the recording. Come back to the episode once you have. If you have, you're ready to go. If you don't care about spoilers, stick around. You're fine. But that's the caveat up front so that I can't be blamed for what happens after this.
I'm still holding out for a Frozen Tangled crossover.
Ooh, I mean, we did get Rapunzel in the first one.
Yeah.
Cameo. So,
They exist.
maybe.
Kind of.
I mean, she's not like she said anything, but she was there in the crowd. That'd be cool.
Gary brought up a good point. See, he's here in spirit that Elsa's so broken now with her powers. Like, what would Rapunzel do?
That's true. And Rapunzel doesn't even have her hair anymore, so she can't do anything.
I feel like she got her magic powers back in the show, though.
She
She
did,
does.
but that's in between. But that's like, how do I say this? Like the canon ending is still like the marriage where she has her short hair again. Like this is like in between that. So
I'm so
It takes
confused.
place
It's
like
fine.
during the movie. I've only watched maybe one
Yeah.
episode, so I don't know exactly where it fits.
yeah, it's like in between the ending and you know how there's that Tangled Ever After short.
This is really good to
sorry.
start the Frozen
I'm
review.
sorry. I had to explain it. It's in between, so the canon ending is still with her short hair. Is basically all you need to know.
It's my fault. I brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, they
You
realized
did.
they couldn't have a whole TV show about a girl with no powers.
Yes, so they had to bring it back.
All right, so Frozen 2. I'm going to start with this statement, and you guys can take it wherever you want to from here.
Okay.
I think the soundtrack's better than the first one.
I love Into the Unknown. That song is definitely my favorite between both movies.
I do.
That's-
I absolutely disagree.
I don't
I had a
know
feeling
if
it'd be
I
controversial.
like the
Yeah.
soundtrack as a whole, though.
Let It Go is still the best song, and I know it's overplayed and all of that, and I get
Better
it.
than Into the Unknown.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I
why
don't
is
even
it
like
so good though.
Into the Unknown is good until she key changes the third time every time for me, and then I'm like, this is too much.
The thing is, I agree with you, and yet every other song after Let It Go, I'd probably get to the second movie. So
that's what I would agree with. And as a whole, it's better. Like there were some real clunkers in the first one.
yeah.
High highs and low lows, and this was just pretty steady.
Like, I like Love is an Open Door. I think it's a fun song. It's rendered completely meaningless by the very same movie. So, while I still like the song, it's also like, yeah, it's a love ballad from a guy who's evil about 40 minutes later.
The only song I didn't really love was when Anna was suicidal. I liked what it was doing, and I liked the honesty, and I liked the fact that they put it in. Everything it stood for, I loved. They just didn't like the song was really, really, really slow, and almost didn't really have a hook for me. It was just kind of slow.
Yeah.
And maybe when you're singing about, I don't know, whatever she was singing about, you don't want to have this catchy hook, and I get that. But
Yeah.
Olaf's song was great. It
Yeah,
was probably funnier than the first one.
probably. It probably has the room to be funnier. It's kind of the tricky thing about sequels is that now that you have an established cast, you get to play with them more. Because you couldn't really have Elsa be comedic relief for most of the first movie because that would have been very tonally out of place.
As a matter of fact, I liked Show Yourself more than Into the Unknown.
I did not like Show Yourself very
Hot
much
take.
at all.
Interesting.
Maybe I just need to watch it again and hear it, but I did not really
Show Yourself
like
was
it.
also the best coming out song for someone who wasn't coming out in the song, or was she?
Yeah, I've seen that take, and I'm like, I don't know where people are getting that from.
Well, mostly the lyrics, but not really a whole lot from the plot.
Well,
Although
that's
kind of from the
what
plot.
I mean is like not really from the plot at all, and even in the lyrics, it's like, it's, I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. I didn't
Well,
see
it was
but-
from the plot until, like, all the way up until it was revealed that it was the mother. But, like, before that, it could have been anyone. Could have even been her mother. No. But, yeah, I mean, the point is, I had a feeling it's not where they were going. I know it was rumored at one point, but then I heard that they were not going in that direction. But I heard that song, and I'm like, did this movie change at some point? Were they going in that direction, and then they shifted gears? Probably not, but like I hear that song, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think it's an interesting idea. I think you can certainly see it both ways, and I'm not even sure which side of the fence I fall on. I will say this unequivocally: I enjoyed "Lost in the Woods," the song you referenced a moment ago, the most. It doesn't
favorite.
fit at all.
I laughed so
But
much.
it's a musical, so you get to take creative license with stuff like this, and this whole 80s motif, and
Yeah.
the multiple shots of him in one frame, and the lighting, and the clear throwbacks to Queen, and everything about it. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm enjoying this thoroughly. I'm here for
Well,
it.
and you got to give Jonathan Groff his own song.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest oversight of the first movie, right? Someone as talented as him, who is Grammy Award winning, not really getting a song.
So I almost thought that it crossed my mind. I didn't think this was the case. That made me wonder if it wasn't him in the first one, because he is so talented.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Pitch Perfect, which is for me when he got his start. I don't know about anyone else.
Wait, who was he in Pitch Perfect?
He was like the magician friend.
Whoa, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
I mean,
I'm learning
if
new
I'm
things
wrong,
all
I'll
the time.
feel real stupid, but I'm pretty sure it's him. I'm gonna look it up right now, so I don't feel stupid.
I obviously heard him in Hamilton, where he somewhat ironically sort of steals the show as the king in a cast that's otherwise pretty much entirely black. But people's favorite musical numbers are some of the Kings because he's such a little whiny, entitled brat. But yeah, it shows off his vocal range there. Here, I mean, again, you can see he's got an exquisite voice, so it's nice to see him being utilized. I don't mind the Josh Gad number. I don't know if I like it or dislike it more than the first one, in the first movie, rather. I think it's fine. Has playful moments. It's fun. It shows off Josh's range. That's fine.
Don't worry, I'm totally wrong. It's a different person entirely.
Oh,
the point
okay.
is he's great,
Yeah.
and I love that song.
So anyways, I think the soundtrack is better than the first, so they may disagree. But I think, nothing else, I think Shaun and I are of at least the same mind on it's better. It's consistently a B, where the first movie has 1.5 really good songs and the rest are kind of eh. Like Fixer Upper does nothing for me.
No, it's awful.
I'm
it's
sorry.
The worst.
If you like Fixer Upper, I'm sorry, you've come to the wrong place. Feel free to change channels, but it's an okay song. I don't hate it, but I'm like, meh.
Another compliment to this movie is that it paced the songs a lot better. Whereas in the first one, I feel like you got 5 songs in the first 30 minutes.
You did.
And then like 1 song in the last third or whatever it was. This movie, it's like consistently songs throughout the whole thing. And I feel there might be too many songs, but at least it is better paced. It's not like, oh my God, we just got like 10 songs in 5 minutes. What are we doing?
It was a really weird movie. It was a movie that structurally probably the first one is better, but enjoyment-wise, I probably liked this one more overall. It felt like whatever plot was there was just an excuse to string together some like incredible set pieces. Fighting the water horse was like amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I was like, I hope one day I can create something that is as cool as a magic ice user fighting a water horse underwater.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it all looks phenomenal, and it's a testament to how far just the tech and animation has come in general. And there's been other examples, but man, oh man, just everything about that, it just looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
If
It's
you didn't know you were
very
watching a
good-looking
cartoon,
movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's sort of the first movie also kind of had that same problem to a smaller extent, where it's sort of like I think every musical struggles with a little bit, where it's like these things are all sort of connecting songs. And how much of this was like the songs were written first, or how much were the songs were written later to fit in, who knows? But I agree about the pacing. I remember feeling like physically uncomfortable by how many songs were in the first half of the first movie, because I knew I was with a group where a couple people didn't love musicals, and I'm like, oh my God, it's another song. It's starting another song. We just finished the last song. It was like 2 minutes ago.
It was high for even musicals, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, oh, you just got to be used to musicals. Like, even in a musical, that's a lot.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. So I do think the pacing in this one was better.
So what did you guys actually think of the story?
I mean, on one hand, I appreciate that they tried to do a little bit more world building with this one, because in the first one, it's really just kind of bare bones. You have a kingdom, and that's really it, and some trolls on the side. But the focus was on the sisters, which was appropriate. And so I appreciate this one trying to have a little more of like the world building stuff. I don't know if it executed it particularly well, but I enjoyed it. I think I was along for most of the ride.
There was no antagonist.
Oh, you're right. There was
And,
not.
I mean, you don't always have to have an antagonist, but a lot of times the antagonist is there for a reason. And I definitely felt, especially in the first 2/3 of the movie, that it was lacking in drive a little bit because there was no antagonist and not even a real discernible conflict. They're just going there. It's like they're trying to find the plot as a meta reflection of like the writers. Like, we're gonna put them here, and then they're gonna do this thing, and eventually we're gonna get some cool stuff at the very end.
Yeah, that's actually pretty
Like,
accurate.
okay, it's good character moments and like good journeys. Honest was kind of weak. I'm glad they didn't make her more of a wet blanket. She was real borderline there for a while.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about her journey. I don't care about Olaf. So the whole thing was like Olaf's death, and then
I
she's
like
all
Olaf.
like sad, and I'm just like, ugh.
Olaf was cool. He's so existential.
I mean, his existential crises are funny, but yeah, I don't know.
No, it was really actually like, it's like Frosty the Snowman 2, which I'm sure actually probably exists, but it's like what happens when the snowman actually continues to live, and he's like, wow, life is so fragile.
Yeah, I actually liked him a lot more in this movie than the first one.
He's less annoying. I will give him that. He's actually pretty solid character-wise.
A bit too much of a spaz, so this newfound growth and feature of maturity to me is a nice plus for him. And to the idea of antagonist, I think that's probably the weakest point in the film, just because it spends some time meandering, and the meandering is through, like you said, these gorgeous set pieces and these entertaining conversations and these musical numbers that are fun. But at the end of the day, it's like, who was the bad guy? Was it the Earth Giants? Was that the closest thing we had to one? Was it their grandfather from the past?
Someone
who's
said
dead?
They do have an antagonist as their grandfather, and I was like, no, by definition, he's not an antagonist. He's brought up in a vision at the end of the movie. He's responsible for a lot of the bad things that happen.
Yeah, but
I see there's a missed opportunity. Like, you could have maybe had something more with him. Like, I don't know. They did what they could with it, but wouldn't it have been cooler, like, if they meet him and then it turns out that he's a bad guy? Maybe it's too many shades of the first one where someone is good and then turns out to be bad. But
yeah, I actually had that same thought where I was like, all right, are they going to throw this at us again where there's a curveball and it's like, oh, this character you thought was their friend is actually evil. And it's like, well, there's, other than the new villagers that they meet, who else could even make that turn?
yeah.
And the guardsman that was trapped in there for the 30 years or whatever it was, like, there's nobody even around to do that, whereas there was in the first movie. I don't know. I agree that I think there could have been more, but I'm not sure what. If anything, it doesn't feel like the movie's too tight. I like the pacing overall. It feels brisk from start to finish, kind of reminiscent of Tangled, where it's like there's not any wasted scenes. It all feels fun, and you don't like missing gaps or anything. It almost feels like there could have been more, but I don't know what exactly. So it's tough for me to criticize because I can't really suggest like, oh, they could have just done this. I don't know what it is. It's just tough to put a finger on.
I mean, I still think they didn't need to necessarily go this way, but low hanging fruit of you have the grandfather still be alive, and then that reveal has a lot more meaning. It had some for sure, but like,
yeah,
could have been awesome.
Yeah, because I mean he's dead at this point, so it's like, how much do we care, really?
He said, which also means he doesn't own up in a way to like what he did. He did it and it was awful, and then he died. How did he die? Just old age? Like, we never really find out.
I was trying to remember the same thing.
I don't know. I don't even think they say. I guess we just have to assume old age, maybe?
Because he didn't make it back. Right? Like, that would have been impossible.
Oh, that's right. He did die there, didn't he?
Um,
I think he got killed. I think somebody killed him, maybe.
Well, I think the dad mentioned something about like the father's gone, but I don't know if they ever. I guess it's assumed he's killed in that battle. Then
Yeah.
I'm probably like missing, like forgetting a flashback where like he's sitting on a rock being like, I did this all for you. But I don't remember that at
I
all.
don't think that's the case. I think
No.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought this is a problem with people having their own perceptions of things and sort of guessing at it as they go through movies, which people do to a horrifying extent these days. But I'm guilty of it in the sense of I thought maybe the parents were going to come back. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I wanted them to. I wasn't really rooting for an outcome, but I kind of thought, oh, like, well, that the ship is here. They must be able to find them somewhere, or at least like a vision of them or something. So I actually cheapened that scene where she like makes it has like the water memory stuff, and it makes the statue of the two of them as they're basically being killed by the storm. I actually cost myself impact on that because I was like, oh, they're showing this, but like they're gonna come back later. It's like, no, they're actually fucking dead, and this is really, really a sad moment, and I ruined it for myself.
No, and that was great because it was like, oh, this is all my fault too. So like, yeah, they're dead for sure, but they did it for me, and that was cool. I did like that.
Yeah. And in retrospect, that scene has a lot more weight because they don't come back. So all the stuff that she's feeling is completely valid because, yeah, no, they're gone. And this vision of them is kind of just twisting the knife a little bit because you ain't going to see him again.
You just had such a theme of spirits of the past, like literally and figuratively haunting these characters. I just think it's a waste to keep harping on it, but like to not have them actually come face to face at any point with these figures was disappointing to me. But the new characters are cool. I like Sterling K. Brown's character. I don't remember his name.
There's a
I
black
don't
guy
know
in
who that
Arendelle.
is. Oh, that guy. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Take that, all the people who thought there was racism in the first movie because there were no black people.
Yeah, that he was cool.
I did like him, though.
The villagers were cool. They kind of made them some friends, and it was kind of pointless, but it was nice. It was nice to see some extra dynamics.
Yeah.
The grandmother type character was fun. She chews up the scenery in the few scenes she's in.
Yeah.
I mean, the additions are fine. The existing characters all grow in interesting ways. And like you said, Anna was treading on some dangerous territory. She asked Elsa if she's okay 4 different times in the first, 45 minutes. And I was like, all right, this is getting a little old. But she eventually has her own moment of growth and sort of is the main savior at the end of the day. I mentioned Olaf, and Kristoff has plenty to do, and it's all great. A lot of and like you said, I think the humor is maybe the biggest improvement because they could do so, but a lot of it's making fun of the first movie.
Which
There's,
I did appreciate all of those jokes.
multiple jabs at the first
Yep.
movie, some of which have the musical cues from the first movie, all of which I thought were fun. If you can't make fun of yourself, who can you make fun of?
Yeah, no, that was great. I was going to see it with Gary, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I heard this is about Anna getting her powers," and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of disappointing." And then it wasn't at all. So I was very happy that they did not go in that direction when it seemed like they could have, and that would have absolutely cheapened the whole thing, like her entire journey.
Yeah.
And I know you can't give a movie credit for the things that it didn't do. Like, oh, I'm glad a meteor didn't come out of the sky and kill everything. But like you could see them very easily going in that direction.
Right.
Anna's gonna get powers too. Maybe Kristoff will get powers as well. It's like they didn't do that. They showed some restraint there. And I thought that was a good decision.
I don't know that she needs powers. And they could even make a third movie still and have it talk about, all right, well, your parents were from these 2 different tribes or whatever. These 2 different backgrounds, and that's sort of what led Elsa to have the powers that she did. So why didn't Anna get anything? What happened there? They could explore that in the movie. They could go all sorts of different directions if they really want to make a third one. And I don't know, Disney and or Pixar seem to like trilogies when they can do it. Not always, but most of the time.
Frozen versus Tangled. I don't even need like a Tangled sequel. Like just loop those characters into the next Frozen sequel, and I'm fine with that.
I'd probably go watch it.
We've come full circle.
They could have some fun interactions, and they could all marvel at the fact that Rapunzel's parents are still alive.
That's
What's that
true.
like?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And hopefully they won't talk because they talk in the TV show, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. All right, so we've sort of alluded to it as far as categories go, but how are we feeling versus the first one?
I don't
Better?
know. Now that we talk about it, it's
Worse?
Well, I kind of stand by what I said. Like, structurally, it's worse. Enjoyment level, though, like, I enjoyed it a whole lot. I think I would rather go back and watch this one more than the first one. That might be recency bias, so it's close. It's close. I enjoyed it, though.
I think I enjoy it quite a bit. It's hard to really compare, and I just saw it today, so I'm trying very careful not to fall into recency bias, but I would think I would watch the second one before I'd watch the first one again. And I think part of that, too, is the first movie does have an antagonist, but I'm not convinced he's that good. He's nefarious. He's fun to root against, but at the end of the day, once you have Elsa actually not like second-guessing herself constantly, what the hell is he going to do?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, the bigger threat is Anna dying from Elsa's magic than it is anything that, what's his name's doing? I'm blanking on his name. It's like 4 letters.
Hans,
that's the one. So even that, like the first one doesn't really have an antagonist the whole movie, and when it does, it's kind of, So I think I like the second one better, and I'd probably score it slightly higher than the first one, although maybe this take will look terrible in like a year and a half when I look back on it and I go, oh.
I mean, it's easy for me. I didn't love the first one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And probably liking Tangled so much made me enjoy it a little less, I'll be honest, but it was good. And this one's good.
Yeah, those are pretty much my thoughts as well. I think I remember liking the first one quite a bit originally, like when it very first came out. And then it just got so overplayed and it was everywhere. And then I got sick of it. And with this one, I'm definitely not feeling like I don't think it's going to suffer from the same problems that the first one did, maybe as much. So I'd probably like watch this one again before the first one.
Show Yourself is a way better song than Into the Unknown.
No, it's not.
Way better.
No, okay, I need to listen to it again because I feel like it was not that impressive.
It was way better.
But
And
her
I thought it fit the plot
vocals-
more.
Into the Unknown's so good though. It like her fears and like
Just because she's like one of like 3 people on the planet who can hit that note doesn't mean that it's great. We go back. There was this pianist for Penn and Teller, and he was like technically incredible, but he was playing like a bunch of garbage that I would like not want to listen to ever.
okay.
That's kind of what I thought of that song. Like technically, it's incredible. I just I don't know. It's okay. It didn't hook me.
But man, everybody gets a chance to show off their chops, and that's nice. Like everybody, like all 3 of the main characters all have a chance to be like, yeah, okay, we're excellent singers. Like, not that there was really any doubt, but like, yeah, we're all going to flex a little bit because we're all really good at this, and the hell with you, we're doing it.
I also like Kristen Bell more than I liked her when the first one came out. Not that I just liked her,
of Good
but
Place, yeah.
like Good Place
Yeah.
and some other things. And I liked when they were playing charades, and I was like, you sound like you right now. And that's funny.
Yes.
And I like that.
Yeah. Oh my god, I did appreciate that Elsa was absolute garbage at charades.
Yeah, it includes ice. You could cheat. Olaf's cheating.
Yeah.
You could cheat.
And then she's just looking really sad, and she's like, confusion, doubt, anguish, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's funny.
Yeah, that was a good scene. I did like that one.
It's funny because she's wrong, but also because she's hitting each one of these emotions absolutely on the head. It was great.
Yeah.
She's simpatico. She knows her sister.
Yeah.
So Frozen 2 is doing better than the first Frozen did at the box office, but of course the test is going to come in longevity because the original Frozen sort of like did well and then skyrocketed with almost unprecedented second, third, fourth, fifth type week turnout. It's comfortably ahead so far. I'm curious to see how well it hangs with Star Wars coming out, with Jumanji coming out. I mean, there's some other pretty heavy hitters coming out in the holiday season here, but I mean, it's super kid friendly.
I was going to say it's doing well. It hasn't faced a big test yet. Like this last weekend was like
Garbage.
kiddie time.
Yeah.
Like, of course it was going to kill them.
But
Wait,
you-
not to say it's still doing great. Like,
It doesn't take away from it, but the fact remains that Jumanji's sequel comes out this Friday,
yep.
and that's going to be a much bigger barometer because that's another movie that was a late bloomer. And then Star Wars, of course, is the following week, so that'll be...
Doesn't Disney worry about like cannibalizing a little bit its own stuff? Like it's
You'd
a
think
few
so.
weeks, but like, wouldn't you think you'd want to space it just a tad more?
I thought the slate of Thanksgiving movies was unimpressive, and I was a little surprised that they didn't put the sequel out because the first one came out the week of Thanksgiving. And they would have bought them that holiday weekend as well, and a couple more weeks removed from Rise of Skywalker, but I'm sure they have people who check these metrics way better than I do. But
Like,
it does seem
that's
weird.
the thing is like, you have metrics, and you have all these experts, and then you have like Terminator Dark Fate, which like
Yeah.
absolutely bombed, and like no one, there are theories, no one really knows why, because it was a good movie that made like 50 cents.
God,
It
that's
was horrible.
awful.
That's a big time exaggeration,
yes.
but yeah.
Yeah, or Men in
Yeah.
Black International or whatever the most recent one was called.
Yeah, that was a bomb.
Expectations there were way higher than they ended up being, and it's unclear why they didn't see any of those signs coming.
There's another huge bomb lately, but I'm not thinking of it. Anyways, yeah. So it happens a lot. So we'll see. Maybe it won't matter. Maybe it's different enough audiences. I don't think so. I think I think Star Wars is the way that it is in part for kids. I think they make decisions based on how can we market this to kids? How can we make toys out of this? Like, it's not driving the whole series, but like they are making certain decisions. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the question is basically, is there enough of a gap? Because I was thinking to myself, well, like Dave, since we brought Gary and we can bring Dave in, Dave's family went and saw Frozen 2, and his kids are younger than I think would maybe see Rise of Skywalker. And then I'm like, oh yeah, his son, who I think is 3, maybe 4, 3 I think, loves Darth Vader.
Yeah, which is like really concerning.
So yeah. Yeah.
They should be concerned.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like raising correctly.
Yes.
I love it when Anakin kills all the kids.
Yeah.
Order 66.
Someone was like, if you could put one F word in the Star Wars series, where would you put it? And it was like the young kid that's staring at him
The
as he
little
approaches
kid.
it. Yeah, I was like, yeah,
Oh.
that's the right answer. There is no other. It's not him being like limb chopped off by Obi-Wan. It's not. No, it's not that I'm your father. No. It's the kids.
The close second, I think, is all the oh god, not the Jawas, the worst ones.
Ewoks?
The Ewoks.
No, like the sand people.
Oh, yeah, he'll all get cut down when his mom's being threatened. in
Yeah,
the
like
second
when
one.
Anakin shows up with a lightsaber, and they're like, oh, go get his mom, and they're like, oh, we killed her, and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I think the kids
No,
are the best.
The kid is by far
yeah,
the best.
I was like, yep, that's the right answer. Every other one's decent, but not that. All right, let's give it a score. Michaela gives it a 10.
Oh, God.
I don't want to go first.
You want to go first?
No, I don't. This one's
Okay.
hard.
I say I actually went first last time, which is rare. I always seem to be in the caboose position, but I can go first. That's fine.
Yeah, please
You
do.
guys
I'm
have time to
thinking.
think.
Yes.
I'm pretty solid on my score, and it's the score I think I give things in general that I like but don't love, and that's an 8. I think, again, I've sort of alluded to most of this before, so the synopsis isn't that necessary, but really like the soundtrack. We'll have to go back and listen to some of the songs individually, especially outside the theater, because I don't think songs play as well in the movie theater as a lot of other things do, especially anything where she was like in the water, so it was crashing into the ocean, or like weather elements hitting. It was tough to hear some of the lyrics. But really enjoyed the soundtrack. Enjoy just getting to see the characters spend time together, and for the most part, not be at each other's throats or really arguing. There's a couple small ones, but they get along overall. The pacing is solid, although it does seem like there's a couple scenes that could have been added to flesh things out. And again, the lack of antagonist. I mean, it's sort of very weird when you think about it in just terms of a Disney movie, because Disney's all about its strong villains. It has a whole show of just villains that it relies on as a way to churn up things on Disney Plus. I wouldn't be surprised if they make more episodes of that, by the way. But anyways, so I'm going to give it an 8. That's where I'm set. I was thinking about a 7.5, but I think the original is more like a 7.5, and I have to give this slightly higher, so it's going to be an 8.
I'm going to go like a 7.4 with 0.2 coming just from the water scene. The whole sequence running out there was cool. The ocean is terrifying on its own, and then there's a water horse.
And we saw part of that scene in one of the trailers, which was neat,
Yeah.
but then everything that happened after the part that was in the trailer was even better.
Yeah.
I never forgave that water horse either. I was like, oh, you're good now? You were trying to swim her down to the bottom like a dolphin and murder her 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time you're a horse and you're not getting broken in. You're just like bucking the rider off and then you're fine. This was like attempted murder,
That's true. It's very deliberate.
but it was cool.
And
Yeah.
to make it clear, by the way, the fire spirit exists only to move merchandise.
I was going to make that
Oh,
point.
yeah.
It had no point in the movie. That was another one of my like problems. This is super cute. What did it contribute?
Nothing.
There's
Other
like
than
one
being
scene
cute.
where they cut to it and it's just like looking at things. You're like, great, thanks for reminding us that this is a thing.
Right.
So we buy
valuable.
the toy later. Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
like
true.
that. But I'm gonna go 7.4. And you know the original is like probably a 7 right in there. So I think I did like it a little more than the original. I put a lot of weight on. It was really funny. So,
which I enjoy in my movies. It's part of why I like the MCU so much, because they've been going more and more in that direction as they've established these characters. And the tricky thing about scoring any of these things is how much credit do you give to the original for the framework it sets for a sequel.
right.
But I mean, that's impossible to quantify, so that's the way I'm leaning.
All I know is I've seen the first one once. And it's been like how many years? And I would watch the second one again. So it's like, that means something to me.
Yeah.
But Chris, don't you know there's too many quips in the MCU?
Yeah.
Haven't you heard?
Yeah. I think there's only one too many
There's
quips.
complaints about quips.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
How
What?
can you?
Who?
Because there are a subsection of people who actually like the overt seriousness of the DC movies and wonder
kill
how you
me.
can possibly even crack a joke when you're in the face of, say Thanos and his entire army bearing down upon you. How could you ever joke?
Yeah, it's not like it's a coping mechanism or
No.
anything like
No.
that. Or
Nor is it like this is a format that's meant for entertainment.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think there's people that like DC, and I think there's people who don't like DC who still want it to be serious, and you're like, be careful what you wish for, man. Come on.
Although that
Yeah.
Wonder Woman trailer was pretty cool.
It
That
was really cool.
really good. I'm really excited for Wonder Woman.
Brie Larson loved it, for Christ's sake. She got like 300,000 likes on a tweet about it. So they don't care about this alleged rivalry. We care about it way more than any of them do. Anyways,
Yes.
Frozen 2.
Yeah.
Michaela, your score.
My score. I'm probably in the same boat as you guys. I think I will give it a 7.5.
10.3.
You will never let me live that down.
Probably not. Not for a little more yet. As long as you keep getting out these numbers, then we'll probably get
Hey,
there.
I'm being reasonable. Okay. 7.5. Yeah. God, what do I even say that you guys haven't already said? Songs are pretty good overall. There weren't any clungers like in the first one, so that's good. So that's an improvement. Animation's stunning. I appreciated the world building and the attempt to kind of bring in this magical world. And yeah, it is pretty good. 7.5. The original's also probably a 7 for me. Of course, it goes down a little bit because of the overhyped quality of it over the years, but yeah.
In
I think
addition,
the original 7.5 for you.
For me,
You can't judge it now and say it has gone down. Like, does that make sense? I mean, I guess you can say now looking back, but like your score back then probably would have been closer to 7.5.
it would have been, yeah, for sure.
So you're
It's-
rating them like the same, which is good.
yeah, they're definitely, it's a good Disney sequel, which is a compliment, but it's also not a very high bar
Well-
to pass because most Disney sequels suck.
We've come so far from Meet the Robinsons, which was not a sequel, but one of the, like, I don't know why. I've enjoyed that movie, like, less than most movies that I see. I hated Meet the Robinsons.
I never saw it. I know I thought it looked super dumb at the time.
I think Brother Bear was charming, but I wasn't all that interested in that. Yeah, we had there's that lull in the 2000s where it was just like, oh boy, Princess and the Frog is a
Was
very
meh.
mediocre movie.
And then it all came back with Tangled, but everything in between that was a little yikes.
So it's nice to be judging this under a harsher microscope. And I actually would have scored Frozen 1 lower back then because I was bitter about it being basically lauded so much more than Tangled. And Tangled did
Yeah.
well.
Sam.
Tangled did like more than like 300 million, I think, in box office, but then Frozen did like $1 billion. And everybody
Oh.
played the songs on the radio and went nuts
Yeah.
about it. And I was like, oh, I hate this movie. The truth is, it's a good movie, and it can't control the fact that everybody else went bonkers over it. That's not something I can hold against the film. But
yeah.
so that's back then. I probably would have given like a 6.5 spitefully, and I think it's nowhere near that low. It's a better movie than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was sort of in the same boat like a few years ago. If we had done this, I would have been like, bitter, but I'm a little less bitter now.
I guess
so.
I actually am a little bit disappointed. I'm not usually this advocate. I usually am like, tell the story the way that you want to tell it. And, you know, I don't need Captain America to be gay unless that's what you want to tell, and then it's fine. But I feel like in my to do all the work to set the stage, it almost felt like pulling the rug out to not have it be. She didn't have to like make out with her girlfriend at the end or even call her a girlfriend, but I thought the first one pushed certain things forward, like the love story, the true love's kiss. It subverted some expectations, right?
Yeah.
And I thought the second one was going to maybe do that too, and then it didn't, even though it kind of seemed like it was going. That's the part maybe that bothers me more, is like it seemed like it was, and then it didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not holding it against it in my score. I just, personally, I'm a little disappointed that it put in the legwork and then just like didn't drive it home.
Because I could have seen them doing that, and it would have been really cool had they actually done that. And I was kind of thinking they might.
It's probably too soon for Disney. I get it, but
Yeah, I think Disney's the elephant in the room, but I also think, could you have built a compelling love interest in 35 minutes or so in the middle of that film, because there was no existing character for her to latch onto, unless you're one of the people that ships her and Anna, which you shouldn't, because they're related.
yeah.
People are gross.
So that was the other issue.
Stop some people. Well, but I mean, like, the movie characterized to an extent this figure. It ended up being the mom, so now I feel kind of weird. But there was some element of like a connection and this driving force for her. So being able to meet that could have been really cool. I mean, it's no different than the Korra Asami thing, like in a way, which I didn't love, but I appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had the chance to build those two up, though. Here, it's like, it could be done well, but I would be very concerned about them shoehorning in a character just to satisfy that and then not doing it well.
Even, I mean, you don't even need to like consummate it. Well, that's probably the wrong word, but like,
No, that's the right word.
they don't even have to get together in this one. But like, if you have those feelings and then they meet this character who's like kind of cool, and then the movie ends, you don't have to even build the love. I would also argue that they kind of did that in the first one. They did spend a lot in the movie, but it's always something that bothers me. The first one is like Anna and Kristoff. What was it, like 12 hours, 36 at the absolute most that they were together, and they're like, we're in love.
Yeah, that's standard Disney for you.
That's a lot of times that's standard movies, period, and I get it. But I'm just saying, if they really wanted to, they could have. They didn't. It's okay. Just keep your eye on it, Disney. That's all.
That's what Frozen 3 can be about.
There we go.
Unthawing Elsa's lesbian heart.
There we go. I love it. I'm sold already.
That's the colon and the subtitle for Frozen 3. I'm sure it's not going to go over well at all.
I want that colon and then colon with a little bit of Tangled in it.
And then Rapunzel and Flynn can show, or Eugene can show up, and it'll be great.
That's the fourth colon.
Just the whole thing.
It's going to become a parody of how many colons there are, but it's okay. It's okay.
It's fine. It'll be a comedy, just straight up.
All right. Next week, allegedly, we might have Dave back, and we'll do a Suns cast. DeAndre Ayton will be returning that night, so we may have a lot to talk about. We will have a lot to talk about. We'll probably do it whether or not Dave's here, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The Suns are slightly below 500, but
Look
they've
at
done it without their
Booker.
star center. So, we have a lot of things to talk about how the season's gone so well. I'm a fan. Shaun and Dave are coming around. I think they were both a little more upset than I was for a while.
I'm a
but
fan.
Oh, you're a fan. I'm not saying you're not a fan. I'm saying you and him were both getting a little bitter
I was a little disappointed.
during that losing stretch.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that next
Wait, are
week.
we winning again?
Yeah, sort
But
of.
like,
Yay.
kind of, but like, it's not that important. I'm coming around to the fact, you know what? Stay tuned next week and we'll go into it.
Hey, so that's the tease. In between episodes, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, on social media at Team Objection, on youtube.com/Objection Network for new videos 7 days a week. And finally, send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com to tell us why the music on the first one was better, even though you're wrong. We'll see you next time.